Hello, everyone. My name is Dio Morales, host of the Gold Squadron podcast, and I am bringing you round 5 of the Columbus System Open live from Origins. We are in the second round of Stage 2. Both these players are currently sitting at X and 1. Whoever loses here will be eliminated. So we're in the setup. I'm gonna looking for the clock. Find the judge here in a minute. All right, they just called starting time, so we will get that reset over here. There we are. So we're going to break down some lists here first. We have Javier Baez, not to be confused with Javier Baez of the Chicago Cubs, running Poe, Wedge, Fenn, triple nines, unfortunately only to be outdone by double tens, and then you have Captain Justero that can essentially fire at PS 12 with using his ability. We'll see how Javier is able to leverage Fenn Rao's ability. Fenn Rao is able to take a stress when a ship activates in order to prevent it from spending any tokens that round to modify its attack dice. And that does last for the entire round. In the case of, multiple attacks coming from a single ship. Wedge reduces the amount of agility dice that somebody is throwing by 1. And this is going to be especially useful against these low agility ships. You have Nim and Kolda only at 1 agility and Justero at 2. And then Poe Dameron, his abilities to be able to have if he has a focus token, which he will almost always have it with advanced optics. Holding on to that, he'll be able to shift one of his focus results to hits or evade every roll for free without spending it. He does have R5P9. It's not a choice that you see very commonly in our current meta, but it allows you to spend the focus, which again Poe does have very often, in order to regen a shield at the end of the round. So Javier had to make some sacrifices in order to get all this tech in his list. But essentially what he's able to do here is with Poe, with Predator and his ability, essentially have some type of target lock reroll and focus modifier every round when attacking. And same thing with Wedge. You can use expertise plus a target lock action to get some rerolls and some focus modifiers. Bullseye arc, I don't believe affects. Oh wait, but then there's the after attacking effect. So yeah, Poe definitely doesn't love the Tyranny Kolda's Bullseye ability. We'll see if that comes into play here. I did get to meet Javier yesterday, playing some Hangar Bays. Newer player on the scene. Great to see him doing so well. He's only been playing for a couple months. Ohio local. But he's made some smart choices. I've been watching him play. He actually wasn't even going to play today. And look, he's still in it at round 5. Sumit is one of the Toronto area locals. Came down with the PTL group that came on down to Origins this year. And Sumit is running something that most of their players are running in this Scum Alpha attack here, where everything is at PS 10, and essentially Justero using his ability off of the bomblet damage is able to shoot. And I figured this is as we get into it, we'll go ahead and drop a poll there. For who do you think will win? Give me a moment and I'll get that on the screen. I did get a round 1 loss to one of the PTL guys flying this list. They've done a lot of work with it, been practicing it quite a bit. So looking forward to seeing how Sumit does today. Now, the PS difference here, the PS10s versus the 9s, is probably going to be the biggest thing that I'm worried for Javier. Even if they were matched on pilot skill at PS9, that would give Javier an opportunity to do some damage before he would get some ships taken off the table. But that's not going to happen in this match. Javier's going to have to range control the best that he can. To try to make sure that he can get all of his ships shooting on one of Sumit's, while Sumit only has 1 or maybe even or 2 in range. So this is all a range control game. Gonna do a flight assist astromech barrel roll. Now, a couple things to notice about Poe. Poe does not have auto thrusters, and his droid is R5P9. It's not your usual meta Poe, so he has a couple of different tools. And that reliance on having that focus token available to spend every turn for regen is one of the things that's going to slow him down if we get into the end game. Oh, wait, Poe's at PS. No, he's at PS9. Never mind. And Javier does have the points if he changes out Predator and he'd be able to have space to have those 3 points, 2 for auto thrusters, 1 for veteran instincts to get to 11. But again, totally understand the reasoning here. He's trying to get that reroll and focus modification on every attack. You do also notice that Poe does not have the Black 1 title. So no boost to shrug off any target locks in this version of Poe. So votes are in. Looks like most people are giving the edge to Sumit. I think the biggest reason being those 2 ships having that PS10 and being able to get those harpoons off. And before Javier can have, have opportunities to shoot with the ships, probably going to be the thing that decides the game. But we'll see. And for anybody who's not familiar with Captain Justero's ability, we'll go ahead and pull it up here on the screen. So it is, it's a different one. We have many captains in the game, but he's the only Justero. So there it is. Once per round, after an enemy ship that is not defending against an attack suffers damage or critical damage, you may perform an attack against that ship. So using Nim's bomblet generator through trajectory simulator, if he's able to do a damage, that triggers Justero. Justero moves before Nim, so he will already have his focus to charge up that Deadeye, and he'll be able to get that shot off. And as we're waiting here for players to continue play, I do want to say thank you to our patrons who make all of this travel possible. We've been to every System Open except for the Philadelphia one in the United States. And the goal is for next year to get to every single one, whatever they call them. I'm not sure if they're going to be System Opens or what, but we will be working closely with Cascade to get to all of these events. We'll be there bringing you all the coverage. And thank you to our Twitch Prime subscribers. Super easy way to support us. If you have Amazon Prime, you can connect your Amazon account to Twitch, as they are an affiliate company. And under your settings, you connect to Twitch, and you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every 30 days. You can click that button to donate $2 and change our way. And it really has made a big difference. It's the reason why we were able to go to San Francisco and the reason why we are able to go to Seattle next week to bring you all of this coverage. So if you haven't done it yet, please go ahead and click that button. Thank you so much for your help. All right, so Justero getting into that window between those two rocks. Javier, two-turning here with Poe. He might be deciding to take the fight up the board, see if he can get Sumit to split up some of these forces, which would definitely help. All right, so he's didn't boost with Poe. Looks like he's trying to, he didn't want to commit to that top of the board yet, but he does have the option open next turn. And trusty Fenrau staying close, making sure to protect his wingmates. We'll see if Sumit decides just to continue behind. Yep. He's going to keep a nice block formation. I mean, there's no reason to split this up. It really works best when all three of those arcs are pointed in the same direction and just be able to erase something off the table. All right, and we're back to dials. And one thing I've noticed about these PTL guys who brought this list, they've all brought the same version, making this call of having contraband cybernetics onto Justero, and it really has worked for them. Being able to do a K turn and drop that focus, and if you still have that, if you still have the harpoon live, like let's say it missed with the music, and then you have munitions failsafe to get it back, you're able to shoot it the next round after the K turn. And the Kirax does have a 5K, so it can do a good job of making sure to clear and get past a group of ships. I believe it also has a second K turn. It does. It also has the 4K. You can also make an argument for Scavenger Crane in order to have multiple harpoons on Justero. When I was talking with the players, they decided to go with the Cybernetics over Scavenger Crane because a lot of people are killing Justero before he gets to shoot his second time. They're looking at it as, hey, it's something I can kill. So sometimes that second harpoon isn't going off, and that's, points have... points gone there. All right, Javier trying to make a decision here on whether he's going to try to, I think his choices here, because he did make that 2-turn, he could bank slightly to the left and see if he can catch Justero at range 3. Most likely would be out of the bomblet range with a 1 bank from both. Here comes Justero. 2 forward, has a nice wide arc. He'll definitely have shots if he comes in. And Javier's deciding to bank away. I don't think this is a bad plan. I honestly, just jousting and meeting there in the center is what Sumit wants. This is an opportunity for Javier to find an opening and try to start picking away at these Alpha Strike ships. And especially if you can get Sumit to start flying through the rocks and maybe make a couple mistakes, his formation gets broken up. That is Javier's win condition there. He's reaching for target lock. Doesn't have it. Soft range check. He does have boost available on Poe. I'm actually quite surprised that he did not decide to boost there, but probably the reason is to try to keep his formation nice and tight. And this most likely will not trigger Flight Assist Astromech. I think he does have a Justero in arc and in range. And speaking of that terminology, for second edition, if you hadn't seen yet, the term, having somebody in arc, in the core rules now specifically states that the term in arc means range 0 to 3. So we no longer have to clarify both of those, in arc at range X. It's just when you're talking about the entire arc. Unless it's a specific ability that only triggers in one of the range bands, of course. Sorry about that blipping. We're getting some interference here. Reaching for the target lock. Looks like it was not in range. And just dropping the focus. I really like Javier's plan here, how he was able to avoid range with, with multiple ships. He only has Justero in range with Wedge, so it's really just going to depend on how bad this hurts on the Wedge. So he has expertise and a target lock. Here we go, 2 hits. He's got the lock. Crit, and that's going to be expertise for 2 hits and a crit. Probably get at least 1 shield here, or we will get at least 1 shield here. There it is, just 1. Double checking range from Fen. Oh, no. What was it? It looked like it was in. I guess not. All right, harpoons. Guidance chips for a crit. That's 3 hits and a crit. Wedge has too many dice. There we go. All right. All right, spend the focus there. Takes hit crit, that's 2 shields, and the harpoon condition. So Sumit on the winning exchange, winning side of that exchange, in my opinion. Sure, would have been nice if Wedge could have got one of those crits through on Justero. Wedge had the focus token available because he had expertise to modify the focus to the hit. That's why he had that available. Just answering that question for the chat there. Now, we'll say that Wedge is in an awkward spot. He probably has the too hard to the right, and then Flight Assist Astromech barrel roll to get out from the rock. But he does not want to go towards Nim. That is not where he wants to be. And yesterday during the Hangar Bay, Javier did have the opportunity to practice against a Nim. So I'm curious to see how his experience, what he learned. We'll find out. Now with Justero's harpoon spent, he only has primaries available to him, which does get rid of that wombo combo of firing off that harpoon missile, out of the attack phase. But he still has a primary, still got 3 dice. So Nim's gonna have to either he's gonna have to get around that rock. All turns except maybe the I think even the 3 bank. Yeah, all turns and banks to the left side are going to be hitting that rock. Got those 2 beautiful floating dice there. Here's Justero. He's like, well, I don't have a missile anymore. I'll try to get into range 1. That's still 4 dice. Drops the focus. Poe deciding to go around the backside. I like this. He most likely will be able to get an uncontested shot on Nim unless Nim decides to go through the rock. He has his advanced optics already charged up with the focus. Decision now is whether he wants to try to boost or he can also reach for that target lock. Advanced optics does not allow him to have a second focus, so that's not an option. He's deciding to boost in. If Nim just went straight, most likely gets a range 1 shot, uncontested. Here's that 2 hard we talked about. He'll be able to advance. Dang, I keep wanting to say advanced sensors. Sorry about that. He'll be able to flight assist, barrel roll here to get out of Justero's arc. And there it is. Javier already has his 2nd edition templates with his center line. And Fenn just going 1 forward, going bravely into the night. He'll take a shot here from Justero. And it looks like he's reaching for a coordinate. He is. He's coordinating Poe. I mean, it'd have to be for a target lock. There it is. Genius is available to Sumit. That also means that most likely Tarani would eat some bomb. So that's range 1 away from Poe. We'll see if he reaches for the 1 straight. Oh, he's just reaching for the target lock. Going to try to get Fenn off the board. And that rock there is really giving Sumit some issues. He has the barrel roll available if he needs it. He does have Poe in arc now because of the boost. All right, so we're barrel rolling on the left side. And this is what I was talking about. We're starting to break up Sumit's formation. I think this is exactly what Javier wants. It is in his favor. Sumit's trying to keep the pressure on Wedge, I think. We're waiting for a first attack. All right, so Nim activates. We're getting the stress here to prevent him from using the target lock. There we go, harpoon missile. Yep, guidance chips for a crit. All right, takes a hit and a crit. We'll see what that crit is here in a moment. Major hull breach on Fenn. Oops, sorry about that. All right, we're gonna get a bullseye. I'm gonna get a bullseye check here from the judge. It's very close. It is called just out of the bullseye firing arc. Now here we go, range 1 onto Poe. There you go. Over average there. Here comes Poe. His ability is active. And oh, he has decisions to make here. I mean, either just spending it or using Poe's ability and then spending the focus at the end for the shield. It ends up netting the same. Fenn has his hot shots now. Here goes Poe into Nim. 4 dice. It doesn't have the focus, but he does have a target lock. Oh, he has Predator, so it's only 1 dice. There it is, works out. 4 hits. Gets the evade, so 3 shields off Nim. So the big difference here, or in that attack, is if he would have held on to the focus, he would have been able to use Poe's ability there and then spend it to have it available. Range 1 from Fen to Jostero. And that's nothing. Wire, oh sorry, he does have wired. He is stressed. He's allowed to re-roll those. It's a card you barely see out there. And is able to roll some evades. Jostero. A hit and 2 crits onto Fen. Fen's only sitting on 2. He could die if he doesn't get any pain here. So, to 2 crits. Oh, and the harpoon. So he's dead. I think, right? Unless... yeah, he's dead. And Jostero is also going to take 1 damage from the harpooned splash. So we have all the damage updated there. Javier loses Fen. Hasn't been able to take a ship off the table. He's close with Jostero and started eating into Nim. Poe and Wedge are going to have to do some work here in order to catch up on the damage race. So Tarani most likely is going to hit that rock right in front of him unless he does the move going to the left. I think the banks would work if he's going to work on pursuing Wedge. We know the forward one. We know the forward is going to hit when they did the check for bullseye firing arc. And that's something that Sumit's going to have to make a decision on here, is whether he's going to try to work on pursuing Poe or just take out Wedge while Wedge is, facing the wrong way. He's going to be stressed next turn. Honestly, with something like a 2, he's going to do a 4K there. With a 2 bank target lock, you can get a harpoon off pretty easily. So Javier has that dial down for Wedge. Has to make a decision whether or not he's going to K-turn or try to go around the long way. using some of that Flight Assist Astromech boost action to help add some distance to his turns. Though right now, I don't think the 2 or the 3 turn. I know obviously the 2 turn doesn't fit, but the 3 turn doesn't fit around the rock either. He's got to be careful going to the right, though, because you're going to have Justero on his tail. We got one more round coming for you guys after this one. We'll work on getting you guys an elimination match, as the 5-0 players are playing for nothing. They're just playing for seeding. All right, Justero looks like he's doing a hard 2 to the left. Just continuing to keep the pressure on Wedge. And here's the 4K coming from Wedge. All right, it looks like we're going to drop the bomb. Oh, no, sorry. That's a mark. All right, so we're getting the 4K from Poe. Poe staying aggressive here. Notice that Poe does not have a focus token, so his ability is off. He does have Predator for offensive modifications. But Poe's right in range for just a normal bomblet drop. So I'm probably going to see that here from Sumit, unless he forgets. Oh, I think he did. Misses that. Missed opportunity there for Sumit. Oh, he's going to genius it. I don't think there was any reason to genius. He would have gotten it anyway. But I guess this guarantees it. And he had the extra munitions token there anyway, so he doesn't have to worry about losing that bomblet just yet. And we're getting a barrel roll from Nim. So he's rolling for the rock. Takes a damage. And that does clip the rock, going one bank there, so no target lock available. Also notice that Wedge is not going to have expertise available because he is currently stressed. We're at the start of combat. Bomb only hits Poe. We're going to get 2 dice here. Oof, 2 hits. Shields are down on Poe. But he's not getting shot this turn, so he'll have an opportunity next turn to hopefully get some shields back and come back into the fight. Got a range 3 shot coming from Tarani into Wedge. So these are naturals on naturals, just one. 3 dice coming from Wedge. He's able to dodge it. So has some decisions here. Probably shoot both at Tarani. Shoot both at Justero to try to get him out off the table. Even though he doesn't have any modifiers, he at least has 2 shots. Oh, no focus. He's only going to have 1 reroll with Predator. All right, so there's 1. That's good. He has the focus. He is not going to spend the focus there. Justero only has 1 dice, maybe 2. All right, looks like they're just calling it range 3, no check. And just 1. Oh, no expertise. He's currently stressed. So, mistake there on the player's part. I don't have clearance to call the judge for this event, mostly because I haven't actually haven't asked. So I'm not going to. That's not my place right now. All right, so it looks like Wedge is going to be taken off the table, but he's going to use integrated astromech. All right, Wedge living on 1. So as we start rolling towards the end game here for both these players, they both came in to this match sitting at 3-1. So whoever is the loser here will be essentially eliminated. Or not. Well, yeah, they'll be eliminated from stage 3. They can still play the next round if they want, but there was no way to actually continue. So we'll go ahead and cross off that flight assist astromech and integrated for Wedge as it has been used. And players just having a good jovial discussion. Sumit explaining just a couple of different triggers. Like I said, Javier is a newer player. Javier just had a couple questions. Great sportsmanship on his part. On both players, they've been having a good time. Very positive conversation. Table side. So Javier looking for a win condition here. And if I had to break it down here, he of course is going to want to try to take something off the table as soon as possible. One of the issues he's going to run into, though, is that of course Tirani and Nim get to ship. Excuse me. Get to shoot. Get to shoot before Wedge and Poe. So most likely we're going to have Wedge die before he has an opportunity to do some meaningful damage, unless Wedge can figure out how to get a block and be out of 2 arcs. So he's going through his decision tree here. He knows that Wedge is on the ropes. So Sumit does have cybernetics active here. He could do the 5K, pop it, and have a focus in order to make sure he has a modified shot. Or honestly, with Wedge only having 2 dice anyway, if you can get just multiple shots into him, you just do the K turn and just roll natties at him. And before I forget, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching today. Thank you so much for sticking with us and watching the Columbus System Open at Origins. Two bank, just taking up some space, which it looks like the one forward probably bumps. Unless he might be able to shimmy it over by taking the template going all the way to the one side and then doing that again. Yep, all right, so he clears, but no bump. He's still gonna get shot though. And just to remind everybody, we will be live from Seattle next weekend. That'll be a Saturday, Sunday event. And I'll be commentating through all 6 rounds, bringing you that live action. Poe, 3 straight, most likely bumps. It's going to be very close. Yep. That's going to tap Tirani just a little bit long. Oh, it clears. Just clears. Both players very surprised that it clears. Grabs the focus. Tirani keeping it simple, 1 forward. He knows that he's going to have Poe and arc. Excuse me, not Poe. He'll have Wedge. And if somehow Wedge can survive this turn most likely Justero will die. But having only one hole, let's go ahead and change that. Having only one hole.
Just wanted to see the magic in action.
I felt your presence.
Sorry.
Having only one hole there, it's not likely. We got the target knock. Here comes Nim. Too hard. He should just be in range as well.
If I can have your attention, please. It is now 6 o'clock and the exhibit hall is closed.
It's also 6 o'clock and the exhibit hall is closed.
Make your way to the exits and either move to gaming hall A or gaming hall C and engage the visitors there and games there.
So it looks like we're waiting for Nim's action. If he wants to keep pressing Poe, he can barrel roll to the left as far back as possible. Because I think Justero and Tarani should be able to take care of Wedge. All right, so looks like the action is to target lock. Wedge is at one hole, and here comes Tarani. And Tarani's going to throw a harpoon missile for good measure. He wants to make sure he has as many modifiers as possible. He'll have the target lock and the guidance chips. And that's going to be dead. So the roll here is just a formality as to how many cards. He's going to spend the focus, and he'll deal out the hit crit. And Wedge is off the table. Now, even though, well, let's see how this turns out before I make that comment. So Justero, just got a clarification, Justero's out one hole. Nim doesn't have arc. And Javier's going to try to see if he can just get Justero off the board. Less arcs to worry about. Range 2. He has Predator. And Poe's ability available. There it is. And that'll kill Justero. All right, so now with 16 minutes approximately left in the round, if we're trying to build a win condition for Javier, he still has all of his hole left. Nim, I believe, still has a harpoon missile left in the bank. And has that rock to the left. Poe has to move first. I think Nim just becomes the win condition just for points. But he can't get stuck in front of Poe in front of Nim because of the trajectory simulator. At the end of the round there, Javier did spend a shield in order to use R5P9 and got spent the focus to get a shield. All right, so we're waiting on Sumit's dial here. And just looking at positioning here, I think Nim still has, still has 6 left. And Sumit wants to come around to the other side. I think he's fully aware that he does not want Nim to die. But at the same time, he wants to get aggressive with this regenerating ship in order to make sure that he gets in damage that sticks. No hole has been done to Poe. And I'll be right back. I'm just going to go double check to see how many harpoons are left on the table and just the status of all that. I'll be right back. All right, so Nim does have 1 harpoon left. We're going to go ahead and cross out the extra munitions, as both of those tokens are spent, one from the Genius and one from throwing a harpoon already earlier in the game. Sumit, I can hear over the table audio, actually admits that he wished he would have barrel rolled last turn because he's in a weird spot. So we're going 3 hard to the left with Poe. Trying to buy himself some time to regenerate. He probably should boost because I think he might be in range of that bomblet generator, if he remembers the trajectory. Here's the 4K from Torani. One banking to the right. So Meat misses the trajectory simulator bomb there. So Javier should spend that focus. After this, no auto thrusters on this Poe. Just one. So he's got 3 dice and Poe's ability. He's going to be safe. See if he remembers to regen here. Yep, he says he spends it, gets a shield back. 1 turn away from full. With a little less than 10 minutes left, Poe does have an opportunity here to take out Nim. Now Javier, being a newer player, we're going to have to see how cognizant of the clock he's going to be. Having a little less than 9 minutes left means he's going to have to try to get his dial down every time before Sumit in order to have enough time to get Nim and make sure he lives past a couple of Tarani attacks. A couple people asking in the chat. No, the Bull, they did do a quick check. You saw Sumit put the 5 forward out there. He was not in the bullseye firing arc. All right, Javier styles are down. Just waiting for that Nim decision. All right, he's going for the talon roll. He has himself in a position to pursue Nim, though he's got to be careful. He can still drop those bombs out the back, not just the trajectory. But Sumit hasn't been thinking about his bombs, so we'll have to see what happens. He's going to reach for a target lock. It's just out. So he's going to take the turn to reload. And the 2 forward probably doesn't clear. This looks like what they have there. Or maybe, I guess maybe it just... So Nim, looks like he just makes it. Yep, just makes it over. Good. And we should be back to dials here. Sumit is in the driver's seat here. He just has to make sure that Nim stays alive with 6 hull. That's going to take at least 2 attack runs from Poe in order to kill Nim. But of course, he has to go through Tirani here. The T-70, its fastest turning green maneuver is the 1 bank. And that's not going to get him close enough. Tirani most likely just does another 1 forward just to keep arc as far back as possible. He'll be able to get a target lock and then fire off that harpoon. And without having, because that stress is going to be in the way. Poe and Nim are both 41 points in these builds. But with only 3 minutes left and at this pace, Sumit will be winning and Javier will be eliminated. He has done I'm really impressed by Javier's play. Again, he's a new player. He's only been playing for a couple months and was just excited to play. We played some Hangar Bays yesterday, and we convinced him, say, hey, if you want to play more X-Wing, the Open's happening tomorrow, and he was sold, and he has had a great time. Poe, 1 bank to the right. I mean, I think that move right there is a move of not being aware of the clock and understanding how far, how behind he is when it comes to time. In an untimed match, Javier wins this, I think, no problem whatsoever. But with only a minute and a half left, they're going to be calling time here. We get our first boost of the game from Poe. Tirani does that 1 forward like I talked about, just trying to keep the arc as wide as possible, keeping Nim safe. There's a target lock, and we will see the harpoon fired this turn. Talon roll from Nim. So they have called time. Target lock and chips. There it is. So that won't kill Poe. It'll hurt. I mean, I guess maybe it could. Rip off the shields. Major double. Not even because he has integrated. So two shields. Hit, crit. All right, and that is the game. Congratulations to Sumit for winning round 5 here. And good work by Javier. Again, newer player. He played really well, and I liked his strategy, honestly. Bringing Sumit through the rocks really tied him up, and you know, a couple of die rolls go differently, and Javier has a chance. I think if he had managed Wedge and Fen just a little bit better, Javier would have had a really good chance in this game. But thank you to the players. We have, you know, probably about 10 minutes for the next round. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to the players, and I will be back here with round 6 of the Columbus System Open.